that your
presentation
process.
too?
Yeah, that's exactly. It's a good thing that we're flexible, right? You know, you just kind of have to go with the flow. The next one that you can, I know you can see it, is the at-risk visualization. And so initially, the at-risk visualization, if I were administrator of a larger school, or any of our schools really, is I can just set filters to look at my whole school, and let's say I want to see how many students have more than 3 absences, or I want to see students who have more than 5. I guess I'm in charge of the clicker. Sorry, I'm not getting more. There we go. Like the back one. Okay, let's see. Big picture, I can pull up my whole school. Then what I did for this visualization, where you can see the navy, the dark blue in the top left, is where an individual student was, their name is there. If I click on their name, it then populates the color bands that you see at the bottom of the page. So on the left-hand side, those are attendance records by course. So one might be English Language Arts, one might be PE, one might be algebra. And so you can kind of look and say, oh wow, this student really likes going to algebra, no, and not so much choir. Sometimes it doesn't look like what you think it's going to look like. Sometimes there's opposite anomalies that occur. And so you can kind of look, and when principals highlight or administrators or teachers highlight on those sections, it gives them more information about each one of those courses, and they would be able to see the courses on the left-hand side. And then behavior incidences, so that we can see in the center of this page the individual student did have one behavior incident focused on truant or school behavior, and then the attendance, and then the last section there on the right is their grades. So if we look at this student, you can see that they have more D's than anything else. They have some B's, and they have some F's. And so you can also highlight, if I were to highlight just on the F's, it would filter out just the classes that student was failing. And so I can look across and see all this data and information in one place for this student. And what that does is it gives us information on kids that might need some extra attention, or something might be happening. How come this student's been gone 10 or 15 times? Or how come they're missing just that one class? So it spurs a lot of those collaborative conversations around students' individual needs. The gift in this is for principals in the past, or administrators or counselors, to find this information. You would have to go through Infinite Campus and do a lot of filtering and a lot of searching and going to different locations to look at attendance. And then I'm going to go look at their behavior. And so this puts it all in one piece, all in one visualization. Linda.
I have a question. So does the connection, like on the grades, does that feed directly from Infinite Campus?
It does. So it's an in-progress grade, so it's up to today. Every night at midnight, Infinite Campus data is then uploaded into Tableau. Okay. And so it's an in-progress grade that changes every day.
Okay, great,
so
thank you.
So it's real time.
Mm-hmm. Very good,
yeah.
Thank you.
So they can see what's happening currently, not first quarter or 3 months ago. So it makes it very real and very timely. All right, and then our third one that we are going to look at is our MTSS, which is our multi-tiered systems of support. And so this is used a lot of times it's used for students who need additional support through progress monitoring and interventions. And so what I kind of highlighted, the red kind of blown out little circle piece there for you, is it gives the team that's working with this individual student who's getting very targeted interventions, it lets them see what's their goal line, where do we want them to go, and this data is set by the team. And then each one of those, the kind of the jaggedy line, is how that student's doing on those interim benchmarks, and how they're testing and how they're doing. Is it working? Do we need to change what we're doing? How is the student progressing along the line that we want them to go toward? And so that's an awesome tool for these teams, where again, before you'd have to go through lots of different paperwork, lots of information on the student, and you can see it all in one place. So as a principal of the school at the high level, I can go through and find all of my students that are on these particular plans and see how they're doing and how they're progressing. Or as a team, we can look at students individually and monitor how they're doing and how they're moving along as well. So in conclusion, in the future, what do we plan to continue to do is we are continuing daily, almost hourly, to tweak, fine-tune, and develop more visualizations. We spend a lot of our time partnering with curriculum and instruction, doing professional learning for our staff, for our teachers, so that they can learn to look at the data, how to analyze it, and then what does it mean? How do I take this and change what I'm doing in the classroom? So a lot of collaboration focused on that analysis as well. And then making changes, all three of those first bullets then lead to that instructional change to meet students' needs in the classrooms. So there's your, was that less than 10 minutes? No.
Questions?
Well, except for the technology delay.
Oh, is that a penalty?
Questions, Mrs. Fuller?
Okay, so you said that the grades came from Infinite Campus. I assume
Correct.
the attendance also comes from Infinite Campus. Where would like the park scores and the Dibble scores and all those?
So what happens with that is like park scores we get in a raw data file, so in a giant Excel spreadsheet. All of that data is still kept in Infinite Campus because you have to have a placeholder and somewhere to put it. And then the visualization pulls it in and puts it where it should go.
Okay.
Does that make?
Yeah, so how about like Dibbles?
So,
Or the
same thing,
district
so our
thing?
schools record their data, it's all put into Infinite Campus, so we pull that. There's a vendor that provides that, there's actually 3 vendors in the district that do our doubles testing based on grants and who's using what. And so same thing, we pull raw data Excel spreadsheets from there, and then we upload that into Tableau, into IC, Infinite Campus, and then that goes
So the
into
teachers aren't having to, do the teachers have to enter into Infinite
No,
Campus?
this is all, I refer to it as the Tableau magic, no, it's all done for them. And what's awesome as a teacher then, I can pull up my kids, I can see how they did last year. So the students that I taught for a full year last year, I can look back and say, how did they do, how did I do as a teacher? And then I can also change the filter to look at the kids that are currently sitting in my classroom today. What I always kind of say is the kids that I inherited this year in my classroom, and see how they performed last year and how far do I need to move them this year. From the big picture, you know, from Park and CMAS. And then we also have the real-time data. STAR's done more than one time a year, so that's updated several times throughout the year as well. They are.
Ms. Johnson?
This seems like a most welcome arrival, so I know you're excited. I'm excited. Can you explain to me, Mrs. Bullock's last question prompted this. So you mentioned teachers have access to it. Does everyone have access? Is Tableau, is there a Tableau for every single student in our district?
So all of our students are in Tableau. Who has access depends on the visualization and the access security level. Hopefully you guys can join if you think I'm misrepresenting it. No. What happens is we set security, or we set limits based on who they are. So as a teacher, I see data about my students in my classroom. As a principal, I can see my whole school. At the district level, I can see the whole district. You know, I can see everything. Everyone does not have that access. The access is determined on what their needs are and what they need to be able to see. So that we're protecting students' data and information, but then also, you know, making sure that the right people have it. So classroom teachers, our caseworkers, mental health workers for the at-risk. So it depends, each visualization has its own sets of security and who we're identifying who has access. Principals also have the opportunity, or administrators, to request access for somebody because maybe they're in a coaching role or they have a need for them in their building to have more access than they would have gotten just by job and title. And so they can request that additional access as well.
Sounds wonderful, thank you.
Ms. Van Meter?
This is cool. This is really good stuff. I was wondering if I'm let's say I'm a science teacher at Air Academy High School, can I see in aggregate how you know, my class compared with other like sections?
Yes.
And how those kids are performing?
So for the tests that are in there so far, if I taught more than one section like Park and Algebra 1, if I taught 6 sections, I can look at it by section of my classes, or I can look at how I taught, so it breaks it up into groups, how everyone I taught did, or I want to see how my 6th period class did, or you can break it down at all those different levels.
That is really cool.
And it's,
Yes, we like the IT magic.
yes. It's not magic, trust me, 'cause
Auto match.
Auto magic.
I love it. Wow, this is phenomenal, and I just want to say, I mean, I'm really, really impressed with this tool, and this is amazing stuff, and I know that it's going to help our staff in tremendous ways. You said this was paid for by a DODEA grant? Wow. Nice job, because one of the things about grants, and we always talk about this, you know, at the state and federal level, is how grants are administered and how those things are done. And it's another example of, you know, people go back and forth about larger districts, smaller districts, and about merit-based grants and different things. And it is very challenging for smaller districts, but grant writing and that work that it takes to get the funding here is something in and of itself. It's a huge accomplishment to get a grant like this, and I just want to say thanks to all of you who
That would be good credit.
all of those who had something to do with it, because this is amazing stuff. And you know, right now, when obviously there are not a lot of dimes to spare around, this is an amazing tool for us to have. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you for all your work. And obviously, you're a great proponent of it, so I know that everybody's going to be excited when they hear you talk about it.
Well, we try to be, no.
Mrs. Bullock?
So Jolene, is this also a tool that could be used at parent conferences? Parent want to see how their student was doing?
Yes, so the other piece, so I think maybe for that piece, because it's all real time, that to make sure that you're showing, is they can print PDFs and they can print this data too. So if there's a screen, like if they want to pull up that
Parents can
student.
print this?
No, parents.
Teacher.
Teacher could,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
The teacher could print that PDF and provide it to parents as well.
Okay.
And those are, I mean, there's so many applications, like this is why when I said every hour we think of something else or we tweak something, and that it's definitely a work in progress.
Yeah.
It'd be helpful, especially if you had no idea how much your kid was missing school,
Right.
you know, or how their grades were.
In other words, the offside is there might be some students who are not so excited about the tableau magic.
Exactly.
Mrs. Animator?
So to follow on to that, does this mean, I mean, could a parents get individual access to this just for their student, or does it have to come through the teacher?
Okay, I'm gonna, you know, every time you say no, then you never say
Mhm.
never.
I know.
Currently, that's not in our realm of what we're doing. Could that possibly happen someday? Maybe, I don't know.
Well, probably if they met with the principal or the.
I mean, right, I mean, we would definitely share if they wanted to see it, but, to have their own login, to have their own,
Right.
that seems.
You would have to look at licensing.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it just really more than parents actually being able to log on and get it. I remember when you all put together the fabulous stuff on TCAP, and I could see my kids' progress and the little graph and everything. That's all I was looking at. I just wanted to know, you know, to go in the right direction. You know, what are we doing here? And so I don't even know that I'm not necessarily advocating for parents to get onto here, but I think I like the idea of perhaps at the secondary level that somehow we encourage principals to simply make this a standard practice, a part of conferences. I mean, like Mrs. Bullock said, I'm kind of wanting to know about this. You know, if I'm a parent, I'm kind of wanting to see this stuff. And I want to know, you know, how fascinating. My child's getting an A in this class, but they have 3 Fs. I wonder what that's all about. You know, I mean, we have those conversations at home too with IC. But I would love to, at the risk of telling people what to do, I don't want to tell people what to do. But it seems to me that as we evolve with this and people get comfortable with it, I would hope to see at least our secondary teachers using this routinely, standard practice. Here it is, have one printed out for every kid and you get to take it home. Things like this are a great conversation starter with your students, you know, when they're, you know, especially when they're older for conferences. My kids understood that if things weren't going well, they got to come with me to the conference. It doesn't always work that way. And sometimes there are surprises. But no, I see this as a very powerful tool, once again, to get teachers and parents on the same page, so.
Any other questions?
Hey, well, I really would like to thank Ms. Kuzer and Dr. Field collaboration to bring this together, and this really has been years in progress. And I can think back 7, 8 years ago, 5 years ago. You know, one of our real challenges is being very adept at getting data. He had so much data on students. The problem was to make that usable in the classroom. So we could dump it on there, so the teacher's also teaching. And this has been something that they've long been working on, and we just think it's a great tool to start to bring together all this information we now get in a usable form for the teachers that they can use in the classroom on a daily basis.
And that they don't have to input themselves. That is the real outstanding aspect, or one of the most outstanding aspects. Is who didn't hear the plaintiff, please, we're doing all this paperwork and we can't teach, so this is awesome.
Well, just on a funny side note, Dr. Hatfield knows this, but I was visiting the school one day and I got to talking and I said, can I help you with anything? He said, can you help me enter this data? and I said, sure, I'd love to do that. Well, I'm an accountant, so I'm really good on the keyboard, you know, so I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you got that done so fast. Like in an hour, I got all this data entered. And so that every time the teacher said, can you help me again? Yeah, sure, I'd love to.
The
It might
benefits
have
of
worked
it.
you out of a job, no, I'm just kidding.
Benefits of being a CPA, you're really good on a 10 key.
I know, and he said, I'm so sorry. I said, oh no, I love it. It's mindless. I can do this in my sleep.
Any other questions on the Tableau magic? I'm gonna be trying to go to bed tonight going, Tableau magic.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Thanks for announcing that report.
Thank you.
Mr. Street?
The data mapping on, the data
Wait.
map, yeah.
Oh, go
So
ahead.
the data mapping on that had to be absolutely incredible. To be able to tie all this together, the integration.
It's, yes, daunting, because we started to learn how to do it recently, my department, because we're like, okay, if we could build visualizations, we could get this done faster, and what I quickly learned, just, okay, it's gonna take me a long time to be able to do some of this magic.
Before you go on to the next topic, I just wanted to thank Mr. Smith or whoever did this on the Veterans Day. Thank you. I'm going through circling and I went, oh, he made a schedule for me.
Thanks to Susan Roy as well.
Okay, well, thanks Susan for me.
Thank you. Next up, Superintendent Initiatives Update, Dr. Hatchell.
Thank you very much. As you know, every other month you get an initiatives update, and from time to time I present these to the board. We've had district initiatives for 10 years now. We have 7, 8, 9 or 10 of those. This year we have 8, and I'm pleased to give you a progress report on those. First one, 3rd grade reading, reduce the number of students identified as significantly reading deficient by 20%. In October, literacy leaders were trained on how to use a running record process to analyze oral reading in an effort to collect diagnostic information. All schools are using the streamlined and improved format for writing and monitoring read plans. Additionally, learning service team members are working with principals to support the use of their SRD fund. There are significantly reading deficient funds for instructional materials and training to improve instruction for young readers. Achievement gaps, something the first two we've been working on for a few years now, continue to close the achievement gaps among all subgroup populations, and we've been pleased with our progress the last few years. Director for Assessment has trained staff at multiple building sites regarding data analysis, trend and gap analysis, root cause analysis, and action planning. Learning Services and Information Technology staff continue to refine and update the data for what you just got your presentation on. Learning Services staff provided building administrators with work sessions to provide improvement plan development and completed district improvement plans. The Director for Assessment trained the What is Working and What is Not Principal PLC group regarding Tableau, Park Star, and at-risk visualizations. And we continue to use the information and training we received regarding culturally responsive classroom. BYOD, Bring Your Own Device, expand the BYOD program, divide standards for sustainability, and see Mr. Beezer and Mr. Pollard here, and they are next on the agenda, so I'm not going to go over that one at this time. They're going to go in depth. Graduation guidelines develop procedures for the implementation of new state graduation requirements for the 2017 and 18 school year. Members of the MAP team have developed a draft revised graduation policy, IKF, and a companion procedure for review by the Policy Review Committee. Draft plans and procedures were shared with high school and middle school principals for feedback, and we are ready to present to you guys at the next board meeting. Bond issue, ensure effective communication with stakeholders on bond planning to include approved projects, tax implications, and compliance with the Fair Campaigns Practice Act. Tom Gregory has presented his factual slides to the DAC, Parent Sounding Board, teachers, PTO, SACs, homeowners associations, and during 5 information nights scheduled geographically around the district. One location on the district website has been dedicated to providing bond information, including a required statement of financial information. If the question is successful, on November 8th, next steps would include preparing for the first issuance of bonds and installing a construction management team. Future Ready District Pledge. Future Ready Schools is an effort to maximize digital learning opportunities and help schools toward preparing students for success in college, a career, and citizenship. FRS is led by the Alliance for Excellence in Education alongside a vast coalition of organizations, including the United States Department of Education. The keys to FRS, the Future Ready Framework, which helps schools plan and implement digital learning in support of personalized student learning. The emphasis is on innovative leadership with a focus on key areas that they call gears. Those gears are curriculum, instruction, and assessment, use of space and time, robust infrastructure, data privacy, community partnerships, personalized learning, budget and resources, and collaborative leadership. Item 7, social and emotional learning, to lead efforts to improve social and emotional learning and well-being of PK through 12 students and staff. The majority of District 20 schools dedicated some or all of the October 7th Professional Learning Day to ongoing training, implementation of Ruler. Mental health staff, counselors, affected needs staff, and nurses participated in a full-day training on trauma-informed care. 2 well-attended classes on emotional intelligence were offered on the Professional Learning Day for classified staff. Security officers and classified staff are participating in a book study on emotional intelligence. On October 11th, 67 ruler leaders from individual schools met for training about strategies, staff charters alive, and approaches to encouraging meaningful parent involvement. Mental health staff and administrators finalized processes and protocols regarding suicide risk assessments using the Colombian Suicide Severity Rating Scale. In addition, various suicide risk assessments training were provided across the district. Number 8, career pathways. Expand the career pathways in D20 high schools that will enable students to earn an industry certificate, associate's degree, and or participation in apprenticeships and internships while simultaneously meeting district graduation requirements. The career pathways team developed MAP. MAP is a management activity plan. I'll use that acronym too long. Developed a map with 5 objectives and identified responsibilities and deadlines for each. The specific 5 objectives are: number 1, develop an initial checklist that contains a list of required tasks necessary for new program design and implementation. Number 2, plan for the 2018-19 implementation of a new career pathway in automotive services technology at Air Academy High School. 3, plan for the 2018-19 implementation of a new career pathway in construction technology at Liberty High School. 4, remain current with current pathways, best practices, and programming. And 5, conduct long-range planning for Academy 20 career pathway programming. So with that, questions?
Well, all right.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. I thought surely I'm not the only one, and I know I'm not. But first and foremost, so glad that you included your initiatives on our agenda this evening, because it is the truest picture of the roadmap that you have set. You have given all of the staff and teachers and principals to follow these important initiatives, and it's also how you are fulfilling board's charge to you as the superintendent of the school district, and doing so very well. Wanted to especially remark or thank Mr. Gregory for his stalwart and even-handed presentations for the bond. We did far above yeoman's work in there, and we are all most grateful for how well you represented the district throughout this process. And I think that's
Ms. Van Meegen?
I just wanted to commend Dr. Hatchell about these initiatives. Often this work is done quietly, it just goes on, and we receive updates from time to time about it, but we don't often talk about it in board meetings, and I want to say thank you for bringing it out here in the board meeting, talking about it in public. The detail that goes into this report, I know it takes some time to put these things together and keep the board updated, but I really appreciate that and the work that's going into it, and I wanted to say that this, Mrs. Johnson, you addressed earlier in the evening your thoughts on why is District 20, why are we a place that has had so much excellence? And this is one of the reasons, because we don't rest. Every year, when we're accredited with distinction, for how many years, Mrs. Bullock?
9.
Yeah, that would be it.
7.
7.
But it will be 9.
7, sorry. I was gonna say, you're ready for a break, aren't you?
We're gonna take a break in a
So
second.
yeah, for 7 of those years since we've been on the board, but we won't talk about that. That's right, since '09. But we have been, one of the reasons that we're doing so well as an organization is because we don't rest. We continue to look for new ways to do that, and I credit Dr. Hatchell with that. That's his leadership, and he develops these initiatives every year, presents them to the board, but they're his ideas. And I know that he works with his cabinet on these things, and there are many, many hands involved, as we can hear from the report. But I just really appreciate that. I appreciate, and I also appreciate the breadth of them. Everything from 3rd grade reading to, the very last initiative on here, which is about career pathways. So we're addressing things for students of every age and every place in this district. There's something for everyone in here, which is one of the hallmarks of Academy 20. We're always looking out for something for everyone. So I just wanted to say thank you and good work.
Mrs. Bullock?
Well, I will add to that they are Dr. Hatchell's ideas, but sometimes come from a little bit of arm bending from the board. I know that Mrs. Van Nader, for instance, has worked on the career pathways, so probably since she's been on the board, she's been pressing about that one. The 3rd grade reading has been one of my pets, and so he is very responsive to the board, and I appreciate that. I do have 2 quick questions. On the mental health thing, I had the opportunity to attend the mental health first aid class this summer, which was fabulous. And I was mentioning it to a couple parents, and they said, "Can you go to that?" Do you have any thoughts about offering that to parents? Yeah. So, and you'll make that public?
Definitely,
Okay.
definitely. I think did Discovery Canyon just do the mental health first aid for parents?
They are?
They did it the week of, I want to say it was the week after the staff did it on October 7th, the Professional Learning Day. They offered mental health first aid to the community. The same group that came in and did the, from Aspen Point, I believe, came in and did it for the community.
Is that when you're on vacation?
I don't know. I didn't put that in the newsletter.
Yeah, I will look
Will
into
it
it.
be offered again?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well,
Definitely.
I'll tell those parents then to just watch for it then, and.
The other thing is our 2 psychologists that came to Discovery Canyon in August, Dr. Poland and Mr. Lieberman, they're going to do a live parent webinar on Monday, December 5th for us, for all our parents.
Oh, and also on that topic, Mr. Poland, or Dr. Poland came to TCA last week.
Yeah.
It was very well attended.
Yeah, I heard 600 parents.
Yeah, they were pulling out more and more and more chairs, so yeah, and the parents that I went, and it was pretty much the same, but different too. And a lot of good feedback. A lot of parents were saying, "Wow, that was fabulous." Some Discovery Canyon parents that I texted and said, "I noticed that." Oh, thanks for telling me. Okay, my second question, Dr. Hatchell, which I've gotten on the career pathways programs. Some people have asked why we don't have that at the ILC so that all the students in our district can access it easier. Any thoughts on that?
We already have the infrastructure at Air Academy High School from an old
Oh, because we
automotive.
used to do it, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.